Back in the colonial days, there were people called wreckers. They would stand on the beach with lanterns and trick ships into running aground and then loot the ships and kill anyone who survived on the beach. They'd then drag their bodies back into the water to make it look like a normal shipwreck. Well, one night on East Beach in Rhode Island, I was fishing with my father, and as we got down to the beach, we saw some odd drag marks in the sand. After about half an hour of casting, we made our way back to the truck, and as we hit the parking lot, our German Shepherd started acting really weird. We were loading up the truck with our gear when we saw a light coming from the dunes. As we got a good look, we saw it was an old 17th or 18th century lantern. We then saw 2 more lights and 4 people walking out wearing colonial clothes. At that point, we just threw everything into the truck, picked up our now growling dog, and blasted out of there. As we pulled out, our lights went right over the people, and we saw that they were wearing ratty colonial-style clothing. It really freaked us out. About 11 years ago, I was living in Long Island and saw something strange. This was Veterans Day weekend after the smoke plume from 9/11 had gone away. So it wasn't from that. I was fishing at Fi Inlet and saw a huge plume of what looked like black smoke rising into the air from the area in the Rockaways. It continued for several hours. It was still going on thickly. When I got back to the parking lot where I'd left my Jeep, by the time I had started it up and got to the Captree drawbridge, no more than 2 or 3 minutes, the smoke vanished completely. I checked all of the newspapers the next day, the NYC ones and the Long Island Newsday. I also checked online news sources. I even checked the FDNY fire logs. There wasn't any mention of fire, or even any calls/responses to anything in the area of the huge smoke plume. I thought it could have been a drill from the JFK airport, as they have a dummy plane fuselage that they set on fire to give firefighters practice. But they never, ever do those at night. The drills are always at 11 a.m. and are over and done with within 10 minutes. 2 days later, American Airlines Flight 587 went down in the exact area where I saw the rising smoke. Coincidence? Probably, but I'm not discounting a premonition. My buddy and I were fishing at a certain spot in Jamestown. RI one night, soaking bait. At one point, my buddy decided to walk to the boat dock about 50 yards away. The whole walk there, he said that he sensed someone behind him and that he heard footsteps. He thought I was walking with him, but when he turned around, he was alone. He said it creeped him out pretty bad and never went back to that spot with me. Now, flash forward to next summer, I decided to fish in that spot by myself. I had completely forgotten about my friend's experience. I got to the dock and unloaded everything and started to soak some bait. It was a clear and moonless night with no wind or breeze. About half an hour into watching my rod, I started to smell perfume around me. I thought it was pretty weird since I was the only one there. The smell kept getting stronger and stronger, so I walked about 10 feet to my right and the smell disappeared. I walked back to my original spot and the perfume smell was still there, stronger than ever. It was strong to the point where my nose started to burn. At that point, I said, "Where the hell is the smell coming from?" Soon after I said that, the smell disappeared. That's when I packed up and left. I've never been back to that spot. Only once when I was fishing did I have a ghostly experience, and that was when I was fishing a lake in France. I'd been there for a couple of days, and my time was really nice and peaceful. There was an old chateau nearby riddled with bullet holes from the Second World War. Anyway, this lake is on a French army training area, so it's pretty secluded. During the late afternoons, I had the feeling of being watched from the woods at the far end of the lake. Each day, at the same time, the feeling would return. Usually around dusk and from different areas, as if whatever it was getting closer. I remember waking on the last night of my trip. Outside the bivvy, it was very foggy and I could hardly see the dim glow of my bite alarms. I decided to make a brew, and as I flicked on the lighter, the spark silhouetted the face of a helmeted German soldier peering into my bivy from the darkness outside. The next morning, I packed up and went home, but not before speaking to an old French estate warden who told me that the chateau had seen some fierce fighting when the Americans liberated that area of France. The Germans had fled into the woods, only to be ambushed by a patrol in reserve. They were all killed and buried around the lake. I don't think I'll fish there again.
Home.